Okay, we're live.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Portuguese American Art Gallery Meet the Artist session. On behalf of the Embassy of Portugal, PALCUS, and the Chamber of Commerce and FLAD, we welcome you to this session tonight. My name is Magda Vakil. I'm the Executive Director of the Portuguese US Chamber of Commerce. We have here today Miguel Vasconcelos, Director of PALCUS, and the artist Elizabeth Casqueiro, who are co-hosting this session with me. Tonight's featured artist is Goretti Carvalho. This session is going to be live streamed on Facebook. Please ask your questions through Facebook, or if you're watching on Zoom, through the chat box. I now pass the word to Elizabeth and Miguel. Please introduce yourselves and Goretti. Thank you. Elizabeth.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm a Portuguese visual artist. I'm also an architect, and I work from my studios in Washington, D.C. and Eastern Maryland. I'm mostly an abstract painter, but I also create painted tapestries and ceramics. And thematically, I'm exploring the sense of place at the intersection of architecture, the natural environment, and culture. Miguel?
I'll introduce myself quickly. I'm Miguel Vasconcelos. I'm a director of PALCUS since this year. I've been a member of PALCUS for over 10 years. I'm a first-generation immigrant. I came to the US about 12 years ago to do my master's in business, and I've since been based in California and most recently in Portland, Oregon.
So I'd like to introduce Goretti Carvalho. Goretti is a self-taught artist. She was born and raised in Terceira in the Azores. And as a young woman, she had hopes to enroll in Belas Artes, which is the fine arts university in Lisbon. But she had to follow her family to the United States. So the transition was challenging, and her dreams, unfortunately, had to be put on hold. So she pursued a different career, establishing a successful hair salon. She married, and she raised 4 wonderful sons. As we will learn, throughout this time, she continued to paint and exhibit her works. And now that she is retired, she dedicates her full attention to painting and also to learning to play the violin. Goretti, you were always fond of drawing and painting. When did you know that you wanted to pursue the arts?
Excuse me. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always had that inspiration in me, and my parents encouraged it. And therefore they bought me the art supplies, and I started probably painting as far as maybe I was 4 years old, 5 years old. And I've always loved to express my feelings through my, artwork.
And Elizabeth said, Goretti, you moved to the US when you were 16, and we understand there was a hard transition for you. I think a lot of us can relate to that. Tell us about how those early years in California, some of the challenges, how do you adjust it, but how do you also remain connected to your Portuguese heritage and culture?
Yes, it was very difficult at 16 years old to leave my my home and come to America. I was very fortunate that I was fluent in English because my parents had a special tutor for me before we came. So I integrated myself right away into the American culture. I went to school. I was a senior at Watsonville High School, graduated in 1969. And then I pursued my English and my art to Cabrillo College. And therefore, I started thinking about what I was going to do, because my dream was to go to Belas Artes in Lisbon, and that was not possible. Unfortunately, my brother passed away. He was supposed to come here. And the reason why my parents brought me with them was because I was a minor. He was an adult. He was 26 years old. He was older than me 10 years. And his dream was to come to America. Since my parents had to sponsor him because he was already an adult, they came ahead. And unfortunately, 2 weeks before he arrives, and we had only been here for 2.5 months, he passed away. And it was very tragic. So therefore, I didn't like to live in the United States. I missed my friends, my family there. And so I was very sad. And I decided that I would just go to school and make the best of it. And I did. But I was very fortunate because I met my husband 52 years now. We're married. He was also in school. He used to work with my father, and he was the Salvador, because then after I met him, then I decided to just stay here and just, pursue my career. But instead of arts, I decided to go to cosmetology school because I figured it was an art too. And so I had a salon for 25 years, and I had a boutique, and I had special clothes from like Italy, special, very different outfits, and I had fashion shows. And so I just got involved in the, fashion and art, and kept on painting. And therefore I just adjusted, and I raised 4 sons, and now I have 6 grandchildren, and I'm very happy that I'm here now.
Goretti, you said that you were fluent in English when you came. Tell us a little bit more about, the influence that and the interconnection that exists between and existed at that time between the U.S. and Terceira, and because there's so many Azoreans that did migrate to California, which is the opposite coast of the US, quite far, but I know there is a large community there. So give us a little insight into that. I think one of the things about this Meet the Artists that we enjoy is not just to learn about the artist and the inspiration and that, but also it's been a true way of getting to know a little bit more of our immigration and the life stories.
Yes. Well, since my parents had made the decision to bring my brother, they decided I was going to be fluent in English. I took English in school, but of course the English that we studied wasn't really, that great, because they didn't teach us very much, and French was at the time more influenced because we were in Europe. And so therefore, I had a very nice tutor, and they made sure that I was fluent to help me, when I would get here. And we also have an influence on Terceira Island. There's an Air Force base, American. So we had a lot of influence with the Americans, and which was wonderful because I had some benefits of, like, for instance, some of my art supplies we could get from there. And also we didn't have television in Terceira, but the Air Force Base had. So it was interesting. I was 8 years old and I got to watch myself on TV, and I thought that was great. Therefore, I had learned so much about the United States, even though I didn't really want to come here, but most of my father's family, they were born here. And so my dad and another sister were the only 2 left in Terceira. And so, they made our life easier. Of course, when we came, they welcomed us. But like I said, it wasn't easy to get, adjusted here, especially going to high school here, even though I spoke the language. What I really liked the most about my English speaking was speech class. I had speech class, and I love to talk, and I love to read. My mother was a reader, so she encouraged me so much about reading that I've always read ahead of my class there in Terceira. And then when I came, of course, there were no computers, so I had to go to the library to study and, do a lot of research on the encyclopedias. So I established a really good relationship with the librarians. So that was nice. And I made some friends at the library because I love to read, and that really helped me, a lot.
Goretti, on those first years as you were kind of getting used to California, did art play a role? Did it help you adapt, or was you were not conscious of that at that point?
For 2 years, all I did was cry and wanted to go back. I was rebellious, so I didn't paint for 2 years. But after that, I did. I actually took some classes at the Rio College, and it helped me a lot. Finding the hue, and so it was great. But it took me 2 years to really get started trying live again, because I was very sad. It was a very sad time of my life.
So Goretti, I've seen your work, and clearly your Portuguese roots are present in what you do. And you chose two pieces that are particularly special to you. Can we take a look at them and hear you tell us about your inspiration for them?
Certainly.
I've put up the first one, the hydrangeas.
Yes. That painting speaks to me because it's part of my roots. The vase is a very special vase. It's from the 17th century, and it's from the area of Coimbra. Before the 17th century, there was only one hue, which, color was blue. Everything was painted in blue. And after the 17th century, people discovered that they could, make different colors. So they started painting under different colors. And for some reason, that vase is of hunting scenes. Like the other side, there's the goat, there's different animals, I chose the bird, the front, because I like birds. And also I chose the hydrangeas because it speaks to me about my islands, because they grow everywhere, and they're just I could say our Azorian flower, and they divide the pastures where the cattle are. All the roads are flourished with these hydrangeas. So this really speaks to me, this painting, and it's an oil painting, and I love painting in oils, but it's a little bit more difficult because of the drying time. So it took me a couple of years before I finished this painting.
And then the other one that you chose to share here with us was
the Holy Spirit crown. Wherever there are Portuguese, there's a Holy Spirit crown. And the Portuguese people brought this crown early on to Five Wounds Church in San Jose. I couldn't find the date that it was brought to the church. The church was inaugurated in 1919, and I'm not sure this crown was there. But anyway, it's frail. It's now residing at Father Silvera's rectory, the pastor of Five Wounds Church in San Jose. And the reason why I painted this was because we had an exhibit of crowns, and there were so many. And this one stood out to me because it was tarnished. And I thought, how beautiful is that? And Miguel Avila from the Portuguese Tribune he took that picture. And so I asked permission if I could paint it. And he said, yes, he was delighted that I was going to paint it. So I did. And actually, I parted with it because he wanted to buy the original from me. And therefore, I have it in my home as a giclée. It's the artist copy. I own that, but he owns the original, and it's in San Jose at his home. And after that, they polished it. So I decided to paint it when it was polished. But the photographer, they took the
And
other.
now I give you a picture of the new one.
Thank you. It's the same exact crown, except it was taken in a different angle by a different photographer, and it's polished now. And also, this touches my heart because I was invited here in Watsonville by the city of Watsonville to display a couple of pieces of my art. They are going to do a mosaic representing the Portuguese community here, because we have a community here, not very big, but we've had people here that live here as long as I have. Mainly they're from St. George Island. There's very few people from Terceira. That's why I married a man from St. George. But anyway, I was invited, and they voted for me. Different people. I have no idea how many votes I got, but now what they did, they decided to transform it into a mosaic. So it's going to be downtown at the city of Watsonville, representing the Portuguese community. So it means a lot to me that I was chosen, with my crown. It's great. I'm so glad to have this art piece chosen to represent our community, our heritage. It's going to be a mosaic. Yeah.
And the paintings behind you are also yours?
Yes, they are. And they are from St. George Island. I take photos wherever I go. And there's an old window and an old door. I don't know if you can see it. I have many. My house is a galleria.
Those are different
Those
than
are a couple of good examples, Goretti. But what else do you take inspiration from to paint or to do any other sort of art that you do today?
Well, I love flowers, and people ask me, what do you paint? Some days I get up in the morning and I have no idea what I'm going to paint, but I don't know. I'm inspired by nature, and I live in a beautiful place where I see lots of mountains in greens, and then I live by the ocean. So, it just depends on my mood. But I tend to paint a lot of my roots because it just keeps me connected to my island and, of course, the Azores. And I own a home in St. George because St. George is also a very beautiful island. Terceira is more metropolitan. So I haven't painted a lot of things of my island, more so of St. George, because it's really rural and beautiful. And we spend more time there than in Terceira. And so therefore, I just, I get inspired by different sceneries and people. I also paint people and love to paint flowers, and watercolor is my go on flowers. It just kind of happens for me. In my portraits, I do the faces oil because I can move it. It's easier to do. Where acrylics is my go-to for, like, when I want to produce something faster, because it dries and you can accomplish one piece of art in one day if you put yourself at work for a few hours. And with oils, it's totally different. Yes.
So, Goretti, how long does it take you to do, like the ones I'm looking at now behind you, that window or the door? How long would it take to do one of those?
It's hard to tell, but probably would take me maybe 10 hours because this is also oil.
Uh-huh.
We'll just, you have to let it dry a little bit and then paint it.
Right.
So it's hard to say because it depends, on the process.
Do you work in multiple projects at the same time, or do you stick to one until it's done to your satisfaction?
I work different projects there at the same time because sometimes it's not coming out just the way I like it. And sometimes I'll just paint everything over, and start again. And so I always have more than one project going.
And where do you paint, Goretti? Do you paint in your house or?
I have a studio. This is my studio here.
Okay.
And it's also a library. And I have a beautiful view, and it's upstairs, and it's just a very special place.
There is a question from someone, from
Yes.
Juliana.
Yes. Hi there, Goretti. I love your beautiful artwork, reflecting a combination of reality and impressionism of your memories. It must be difficult to part with your art, as each lovely piece holds a special place in your heart. My question to you is, do you have a favorite painting, and if so, which one?
I would say my favorite painting is the Coroa Divina, the crown.
Okay.
The polished one or the original one?
The original one.
I like it too. It's beautiful.
Yeah, because I didn't think I could paint a metallic look, and I was able to do it.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of pride on my crowns.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you did. It's a very interesting job.
Yeah, because there's no metal paint. It's just, I created it from the mixture of my hues. So it's very special to me.
Goretti, did you always use photography for your, to paint, or do you work from memory sometimes?
I do both, but I have quite a few pieces. The landscapes are usually my imagination of, the things where I've been and what I've done. I have one that I painted from Italy that I have. It was a beautiful street with beautiful houses, and I copied that picture. And I have several that I have, but I love to imagine where I'm at, where I've been, and it just, it all depends.
So your paintings tend to be sort of the result of different inspirations that you put together in one piece, or do you try to sort of keep them separate?
No, they are a mixture, yes. Only when I do portraits or, still lives, of course, I do exactly what I see. But other than that, I prefer to do landscapes and seascapes and stuff like that. And it's more inspirational,
Mm-hmm. And how many hours a week do you typically spend painting?
I really don't know.
Mhm.
Because I start something, I may start something else, and I do music, so I also play music, and I live a very active life. I have grandchildren around too, so I never know. Sometimes I will paint all day, and sometimes I will paint nothing, and sometimes I'll do a couple hours, and it just depends.
Mm-hmm.
Have you always played an instrument, or is this something that you started more recently?
I always played piano since, well, I should say since I was 8 years old. And we had a piano in Terceira, and mom decided I was going to play the piano. But one day she took me to a concert at the Rádio Clube d'Angra, which was our radio, wonderful radio. It had lots of wonderful programs. And she took me to this concert. It was opera violin. And I saw that and I'm like, oh, I want to play violin. But mom said, no, because we have a piano, so you have to play the piano. We don't have a violin. So I played the piano. And the violin came about after I retired from my beauty business, because I always wanted to do that. And I own 2 pianos in the house. I have a baby grand and just another regular piano. But I spend more time playing the violin. It's just very intriguing. It's I just think it's so romantic and beautiful. It's a very fine instrument.
And what do your family think about it?
Oh, they love it. I taught
They enjoy?
yes, my oldest granddaughter, she's 15. She plays with me. Yeah. Hopefully she'll continue, but right now she's a teenager and I don't see her really pursuing it at the moment.
Mhm.
And has the painting carried on the family too? Do any of your children or grandchildren paint?
My grandchildren, yes. My granddaughter, she actually has shown paintings with me and sold a couple of pieces at Dia de Portugal. Dia de Portugal in San Jose is our favorite day. And that's where we all come together and, you know, see people that haven't seen in years. And she likes to show her art there. And my little grandson, Caleb, he's also interested and he loves to paint. And now I have, he's 6 years old. And I have 2 granddaughters, they're identical twins, and they have their easels and their canvases. And when they come in, they say, paint, paint, paint. They are just 3 years old. And so they are starting to paint. They actually created some nice abstracts. So I influence the children. My sons are not into painting. They were pretty good in school, but then they just weren't not interested anymore, you know. But I think it will be carried on by my grandchildren. I honestly do.
You mentioned that you have exhibited both in the Azores and in California.
Yeah.
How do you is it perceived differently? How do you enjoy it? Is it different exhibiting in the Azores versus in California? I guess the audience is different.
Yeah, it was very moving to me to exhibit on my island for the first time, 2011 at Festas da Praia. And I love that story of Brianda Pereira. And so then they asked me to, you know, have a title for my exhibit. And I said, well, it's going to be in Praia de Vitória, and there's a story about Brianda Pereira. And so I created a painting. I went online, I checked to see if I could, you know, see something to inspire me to paint, because, you know, it's a story of a woman that she was a guerreira and she defeated the Spanish, you know, guerreiros that came to attack the Praia de Vitória with the bulls, you know, and the people of the area. And she had her pa that she used to bake in the oven, her bread, and she brought it down and she won the battle. And so I thought, well, I'm going to name my exhibit Alma de Brianda. So that was really cool. Well, thing came on here. Sorry about this. I don't want to.
We lost your video.
I think we lost Goretti now.
Lost completely.
I guess she should be back soon. So while we wait for Goretti, maybe we can just share with you that we have been holding these Meet the Artist sessions to feature the artists that are in the Portuguese American Art Gallery, which we invite you all to visit. But Goretti is back, so let's go back to Goretti.
Yes, so then I was very impressed because when I had my exhibit there, children would come in with the parents to see the exhibit, and they would go, "Mom, Dad, there's Brianda Pereira," because they study that in school, but they could tell. So actually, it was so visual that was the story of Brianda Pereira. So that was one of my favorite exhibits, and also I exhibit in São Jorge, and I named my exhibit Alma de Ilhéu because I showed some of the artwork that I had painted from St. George Island, and it was very moving for me too,
Just going back to your first exhibit that you mentioned, the Brianda Pereira, did you do it like a illustration of different phases of the story, or like a storytelling, or how did you conceive that exhibit?
I just painted the images on the canvas, and people could read it, it's a beautiful piece, and I probably should have also sent that to you so you'd have an idea what it is like. It is a very special piece. That I own that one.
So that one you didn't have the heart to part with.
No, and people actually have contacted me about that piece because I did that piece here also. And every year at the Portugal, I part with some of my paintings. Most of the people that buy my artwork are friends,
What about your exhibits in the States? Are they mostly in California?
I do open studios, and I belong to 3 different clubs here, in California, and every year different times, and I have also been for the Portuguese government, Consul General of Portugal. The consul, Dr. Carvalho, when he was here, he had us publish a book about my art, and a priest that used to live here, he's passed away, Father Bernardo, a lady from Pico, Mrs. Simões, and an artist also from San Jose, Elia Souza. So that was a great exhibit, and we published our book. That was such an honor. And then I have another consul of Portugal that I can't recall the name right now, also had us show right at the Portuguese consul. And those were very special exhibits for me,
Goretti, as you think about some of your art pieces, and obviously we don't know all of them, but is there a particular one that really bridges the gap between Azores and California, the one that has the best of your heritage and the best of what you found in America?
Well, again, it's my crown and my hydrangeas and my vase. Those are the ones that really connect me to my roots. Connecting me to America, well, just the pieces that I have produced here, of course, but I always feel very attached to my roots, and those are the 2 pieces that really I feel more connected. And also here, because of the crown being from here, But then, the Portuguese people, we all come together for like, it's a religious symbol of the Catholic Church, as you know. And there's always an event held all over the United States and some parts of Europe about the Holy Crown, where everyone is invited to eat for free. Like the sopas. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And it used to be like they would feed the poor, years ago in the Azores. And so that crown ties us all together, and I think that's probably, the one that I would say, because it's been generations and generations, and people thrive on, on the crown, they're just.
So, Goretti, you talked a little bit about painting with oils and watercolors, but and you mentioned watercolors for flowers, but then you also use acrylics. How do you choose? And is it because of the subject or because of your mood or because of what you want to achieve?
It's probably because of what I want to achieve. Like my to go for is acrylic, because if I want to achieve something, like I have a deadline or I want to, get it done quick, it's acrylic that I choose rather than oils and watercolors. And I have more control over the acrylic than the watercolors. The watercolors kind of happen, which makes a lot of interesting pieces, but I have some beautiful roses that I have achieved with the watercolors. So I would say that it depends on what subject I'm, painting on, but most of my I use acrylic.
It's interesting that you can use oil or acrylic or watercolor kind of seamlessly. I find I work nowadays just in acrylic and with ink and a few other things, but mostly it's acrylic. And I just find oils very hard, even though that's how I started. But good thing that you can do both. That's wonderful.
Yes, if I do a portrait, the face in oil is always easier to do because, as you work with acrylics, it dries so quick, and you can't move it. And sometimes I'll use my fingers too. And on the oil, you can really move it and for me, it accomplishes a better, facial expression. It's just, with the acrylic, it feels like it's plastic and it can't move it. And, it's just, I get a little bit apprehensive about that. But other than that, like I said, most of what I use is acrylics. It's my go-to. Easier something if you have a deadline.
Yeah, that's true.
Any piece that you're working on right now, Goretti, that you feel great about?
I have done a few abstracts. I'm working on an abstract and I'm looking at it right now. And it's been sitting there for over a month. It's the ocean. And it's just a little tough for me, but I think I will finish it soon. But it's been kind of in the works for a few months. Yeah, because abstract.
To see it.
Hey, but I like to experiment with everything. So I'm always on the edge.
Besides those local exhibits and some of the other work that you do for friends and family, is there a place where one could find what you produce or the works that you've done on the World Wide Web?
I don't have a website. It's too much work to keep up with it. I'm so manual. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. You can also email me because I don't want this to be a job. I love to paint and create, but I'm not so much on selling, you know, as a business. It's not so much as a business. So therefore, I don't have a website. I get asked that all the time.
Well, I think if you have the Facebook and Instagram, people can find you there for sure.
Oh, yes, they can find me. Yes.
So, what do you recommend to emerging artists, to young artists who, like your granddaughter, for instance? How would you coach them in terms of how they should go about being an artist?
Well, I tell my granddaughter to pursue it because she's really good at it. And I think that if she keeps on going, that would be a good future for her. And I think that children should do artwork because it's so inspirational and they can be so creative and translate their feelings into canvases. And especially nowadays with what's happened with the pandemic, like for myself, I painted a lot when it was when we had the pandemic, and a lot of kids got really depressed, and they had to go, to go for help. I would say that there should be art in schools, which here in California, they have actually the public schools don't, they say they can't afford to teach art in schools. So it's pretty sad, But my grandkids go to private school, so they have the opportunity to do artwork. So I think it's very important for children to grow up, around art to express themselves, and it's a great tool.
Do you still have family in the Azores?
Only
Or all the families here now in the US?
only one first cousin is in the
Mhm.
US, and I have lots of friends that I went to school with. Since Facebook, we reunited, and now I see my friends when I go. I didn't see my friends that I went to school with for 43 years.
Mm.
Yeah, different ways, but Facebook came along, and that was a wonderful tool to keep us, get us back together. We even had reunions at our school in Angra, Terceira, which is wonderful, and we keep in touch.
Do you have other friends in Angra that are also in the arts, or they
No,
pursue different careers?
my friends, believe it or not, they became teachers. Most of my friends are school teachers. They're retired. Yeah. On my days, that was an excellent job, for young women to pursue. So, yeah, they're interesting.
What did your parents have a sort of a favorite career that they were wanting you to go to? Because we talked to some artists, and some of them expressed that their parents wanted them to go in a different direction, and that for many of them art was like a second career, but they kind of were very encouraged by their parents to have a fallback position.
Yes, that's my case. My parents said, you can't make a living being an artist, and you need to get a PhD. They wanted me to do languages, teach French and English, because it came easy to me, and so they figured I should get a PhD and be a teacher of lettres, So they didn't think I was going to make any money as an artist, and that I should pursue a different career. Yes, but although they supported me, and they they bought all the materials for me, but they didn't think I should pursue that as a career.
Mhm. So, Elizabeth, also you became an architect, right?
I did. My father wanted me to be an economist, and I did try, but I hated it so much that after 1 year. So I went back to, because I had pursued a different path to economics. I had to go back and do 2 years for architecture. So I lost 2 years in the process, but yeah, I did become one eventually. So
that's one of the beautiful things about the American university and college system is that it allows a lot more transition and fluid, and you can pursue different things in college. And then also the American career path also allows to change careers at a later stage and catch up and pursue your passion.
yes.
And today's market job is also very different than a few years ago. As long as you are good at it and you are passionate about it and willing to learn, you can change careers. Right, Miguel?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was also, I'm an economist by trade, or I went to college in Lisbon, and that's all I studied for 4 years. So Magda, I think your point about, I think the flexibility, especially at that young age for students to kind of figure it out as they go. I think the American system is pretty interesting that way, because I had to make my call pretty much like you, Elizabeth, when I was, I don't know, 15,
Yeah.
14.
15, right.
And after that, you're kind of down a path.
Right.
But I do think, yeah, I've recently taken a new path, and it's obviously leveraging a lot of my learnings and professional experience. But to your point, and especially with the resources you have out there today, as long as you're committed, interested, I think you can make that shift.
Yeah, it's I mean, I probably could have done it in Lisbon, but here I had other experience, and I also had done a course in interior design in Lisbon, and I came here and they let me go straight into the master's program for architecture, which would never have happened in Portugal. So I heard an interview with Cristiano Ronaldo the other day, and and he said something very profound, which was talent without hard work is nothing. And it kind of, I mean, it's obvious, we know that, but if you have talent, you still need to work hard, and you will get somewhere.
So Goretti, do you feel that here in the US, we know that you came here and you had to sort of put some of your dreams on hold, but do you think that here also you had the environment to pursue art even if it was like a side career or hobby more easily than if the same thing was happening in Portugal or what?
Oh, definitely. Here we have so many more opportunities and than we had in Portugal. You can't compare. So here you can be anything you want to be. You can accomplish your goals. Anything you want to accomplish, you can, if you're willing to work hard, and you can be very successful. And I feel that I have achieved my goals here that I aimed for. I think the United States is a wonderful country. And when I decided to integrate myself here, then, I found all the opportunities.
Is it easier to exhibit here than in Portugal? Maybe
Yes.
Elizabeth also, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, well, I was invited there, to exhibit, and I enjoyed it. It was wonderful. But here we have more opportunities. Like, people will buy your paintings here, there. It's hard. The economy is different, and here we are more in touch with people from all over the world, which helps a lot. So it's a wonderful culture, and we learn so much from everyone. So, and I'm very happy that I'm here now. I wouldn't go back to live, but I love to go there, spend 2-3 months in the summertime. And we've traveled all over Europe, different parts of the world, and we enjoy traveling very much. But nothing like coming home to America.
And you, Elizabeth, do you find it's easier to exhibit? Is it different, your experience exhibiting here and in Portugal? Or
I find it, yeah, I absolutely find it much easier here. There's so many more opportunities. And there are opportunities at many different levels. So you can exhibit, if you're an amateur, there's opportunities for you to show. If you're a little more, experienced, there's, other groups you can fit into. There's galleries, there's, and the wonderful thing is, in this country, there's less of a focus on age, for instance. So it's much more on the output. And people don't care if you're, older and painting, or they're looking at the piece. And that's what's important. That's what I find, and I have a wonderful, because of the art, I'm in a very wonderful sort of community here in Washington of artists. And, it's great. It's like, we get, we meet at receptions and shows, exhibits. I've just been invited to exhibit at the Katzen Museum in Washington, based on some work that I did several years ago, which was superheroes, and what they call the American myth.
mm-hmm.
So the title is Homeland: Exploring the American Myth. So it's a group show with immigrant artists who've taken iconography from the American culture and popular culture and made it their own. So I don't do that kind of painting as much now, but doesn't matter. I had it. I had some that I hadn't sold. So I think, I think Goretti's right that this is a place that has a lot of opportunity for anything, and it doesn't matter whether it's art or whether it's cooking or whether it's, playing the violin. You have all these opportunities. If you want to just practice, and that's fine, and learn. If you want to actually perform or exhibit, you have opportunities to do that too. So it's, I feel that living in this country, there's less of a weight on your shoulders. I feel much lighter here, which, and I love Portugal, like Goretti is. I feel very connected to the country, but I do think you breathe a little easier here in this country.
There's perhaps more acceptance
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
and less of a, I don't know.
Less judgment.
Yes, just less judgmental in terms of, and perhaps also I think you don't need credentials.
Right. I mean, you do in some places, but when it comes to the arts,
If your art is good, it will be
about your
accepted
talent.
as being good.
Exactly. It's
No one is
talent.
going to ask you, where did you learn it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So I don't know if there's any other questions or issues that anyone would like to raise. We are coming up to 8 o'clock and we would like, so I don't know, Miguel, if you have something you'd like to discuss or talk about.
No, it was wonderful to learn more about you, Goretti. I think your work it's for me that I'm a first generation immigrant too. It's touching to see how you carry that through your art. I enjoyed learning a lot about your story and about your work. I enjoyed really meeting Elizabeth and Magda as well. And I hope that we get the chance to do this again. And I'm sure we will, Magda, but nothing else from my side.
Thank you.
So we'd like to thank everybody. And Goretti, thank you very much for being here today. I know you had a busy day and we thank you for that. We will be holding a Meet the Artist session in mid-June and we're finalizing the details and we'll be announcing shortly. But I would also like to ask the audience and everyone to visit the gallery. The gallery started during 2020, so the pandemic. And it started with 7 artists. I think we are up to 18 now. If you know of other Portuguese American artists, please invite them to visit the gallery and get in touch with us and submit their work. We'd like to hear more. We have jeweler, we have graphic designers, we have visual arts, photography. We don't have any sculpture, but we would like that too. So please do spread the word. Visit the gallery. You'll see more of Goretti's work and of Elizabeth and the other artists as well. So the email is PortugueseAmericanArtGallery@gmail.com. And the gallery is just put Portuguese American Art Gallery and it will show up on your Google. So thank you very much for all your time. It was a pleasure to meet you, Miguel, and to co-host this with Elizabeth. Thank you for your time. And thank you, Goretti. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you
very much. And good night to everybody.
Thank you
very
very
much. Good afternoon to California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's still
5 o'clock here.
Your evening is starting.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you, Miguel, also.
Great to meet you all. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.